Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizons and watched the stars through the main window. His ship carried 15,000 colonists to their new home on Kepler 442b. They had been traveling for 8 months now and would arrive in just 2 more weeks. Jake had made this journey 4 times before, and each trip filled him with the same excitement. Humanity was spreading across the galaxy and building new worlds among the stars. Dr. Lisa Carter rushed onto the bridge, with her tablet in hand. Her face was pale and her hands shook slightly. She had been the ship's xenobiologist for 3 years, and Jake had never seen her look so worried. She stopped in front of his captain's chair and took a deep breath before speaking. "Captain, we have a problem," she said. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures approaching from deep space. These readings are unlike anything in our databases. The energy patterns suggest advanced propulsion systems far beyond our current technology." Jake looked at the data on her tablet. The numbers showed 7 large objects moving toward human space at incredible speeds. Each object was roughly the size of a small moon. They would reach human colonies within days at their current velocity. "Could they be natural phenomena?" Jake asked. "Maybe some kind of cosmic event we haven't seen." Before Lisa shook her head. "The movement patterns are too precise, Captain. These objects are under intelligent control. They're slowing down as they approach our colonies and adjusting their course to intercept our communication networks." Before Jake could respond, the ship's communication officer, Lieutenant Ryan Davis, called out from his station. "Captain, I'm receiving transmissions from all human colonies simultaneously. The signals are coming from those approaching objects." Jake felt his stomach drop. First contact with alien life had always been humanity's greatest dream and greatest fear. Now, it was happening and they were not prepared for it. "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The stars disappeared and were replaced by the image of a tall crystalline being. Its body seemed to be made of living diamond, with light flowing through its transparent form. When it spoke, its voice was clear but cold like breaking glass. "I am Ambassador Zektar of the Vexthari, speaking for the hegemony of 7 worlds. We address all human settlements across this region of space. Your species has been observed and evaluated. The Hegemony Council has reached a decision regarding your continued expansion." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew watched the screen with growing concern. "This was not the peaceful first contact humanity had hoped for," Zektar continued. "Humans have demonstrated aggressive expansionist behavior that threatens galactic stability. Your rapid colonization and militaristic tendencies mark you as a potential threat to established civilizations. The hegemony cannot allow such dangerous growth to continue unchecked." The alien's form shifted slightly as light pulsed through its crystalline body. "Therefore, the hegemony issues this ultimatum. All human colonies beyond your home system must be abandoned within 1 solar cycle, which equals 18 of your Earth months. Your species will withdraw to the Sol system and accept permanent quarantine. Hegemony Sentinels will monitor your system to ensure compliance." Jake's hands gripped the arms of his chair. 18 months to abandon dozens of colonies where millions of humans had built new lives. It was impossible. "Any attempt to leave your home system after the quarantine begins will result in immediate pacification," Zektar said. "Your vessels will be disabled and your crews relocated to supervised facilities. This decision is final and not subject to negotiation." The transmission ended and the stars returned to the main screen. The bridge was silent except for the quiet hum of the ship's engines. Jake stared at the place where the alien had appeared and tried to process what had just happened. On Earth, President Amanda Foster received the same message in the Oval Office. She immediately called an emergency session of the United Earth Council. Within hours, representatives from every human colony were connected via quantum communication link. General Roy Patterson, head of the Human Defense Force, spoke first. "Madam President, we cannot comply with this ultimatum. Abandoning our colonies would end human expansion and possibly doom our civilization to slow decline in a single system." Dr. Ben Hughes, Earth's leading physicist, disagreed. "General, we've seen demonstrations of their technology. 3 of our exploration vessels near Proxima Centauri were disabled without warning. The crews are alive, but their ships are completely dead. No power, no life support, no engines. These aliens can stop our most advanced vessels without even trying. President Foster looked around the room at the worried faces of humanity's leaders. "What are our options?" she asked. "We could try negotiating," suggested Senator Claire Walsh. "Maybe we can reach some kind of compromise." General Patterson shook his head. "They said negotiation was not possible. This is a demand, not a discussion." Dr. Hughes pulled up holographic displays showing the alien vessel's capabilities. "Our analysis suggests their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Their ships move faster than anything we've built. Their energy weapons could destroy our colonies from orbit. Military resistance would be suicide." The room fell quiet as everyone considered their impossible situation. Comply and watch human civilization slowly die in isolation. Resist and face immediate destruction by vastly superior forces. President Foster finally spoke. "We need time to think and plan. Send a message to all colonies. Tell them about the ultimatum, but don't order evacuations yet. We have 18 months to figure this out." As the meeting ended, Jake Morrison and 15,000 colonists continued toward their new home, unaware that their dreams of a new world might be ending before they even arrived. 6 months had passed since the hegemony delivered their ultimatum to humanity. On Earth, government officials held endless meetings about compliance while secretly preparing for something else entirely. Deep beneath the surface of Luna, in an abandoned mining facility, Colonel Sam Wright worked by the light of portable lamps, building humanity's hidden resistance. Sam was a decorated veteran who had served in the border wars 20 years ago. His weathered face and gray hair showed his age, but his eyes burned with determination. He refused to accept that humanity should hide in their home system like frightened children. The mining tunnels provided perfect cover for their secret operations. Engineer Kelly Brooks bent over a workbench examining pieces of alien technology. She had managed to salvage components from the disabled ships near Proxima Centauri before hegemony forces arrived. Her tools sparked as she carefully took apart a crystalline power cell. The technology was incredibly advanced, but she was beginning to understand how it worked. "Colonel, I think I've figured out their energy matrix," Kelly said without looking up from her work. "It's not just advanced, it's completely different from our approach. They use quantum resonance instead of traditional power generation. If we can reverse engineer this, we might be able to build weapons that can actually hurt their ships." Communications. Expert Rick Palmer sat at a bank of screens monitoring transmissions from across human space. His job was maintaining contact with colonies that refused to abandon their homes. Most government officials were preparing for evacuation, but ordinary colonists were not so willing to give up their new worlds. "Colonel, I'm getting reports from Haven Prime," Rick said. "Matt Stone is organizing the colonists there. They're saying they won't leave no matter what Earth decides." Similar messages are coming from the mining colonies in Kepler system and research stations throughout human space. Sam nodded grimly. He had expected this. Humans had not traveled across impossible distances and built new worlds just to run away at the first sign of trouble. The problem was that scattered colonies could not resist the hegemony alone. They needed coordination, and they needed allies. Dr. Lisa Carter had joined the resistance after the New Horizons completed its mission. She brought something more valuable than weapons or ships. Through careful analysis of hegemony communications, she had discovered that not all alien species supported their harsh policies. "I've been studying their transmission patterns," Lisa said as she entered the main planning room. "The hegemony isn't as united as they want us to believe. There are at least 3 factions among their member species, and one group seems opposed to the ultimatum." She activated a holographic display showing intercepted alien communications. The symbols and sounds were strange, but her translation programs had made progress in understanding their meaning. The Kethmori are a feline-like species that was conquered by the hegemony about 300 years ago. Their communications Suggests they remember what it was like to be free and they don't approve of forcing other species into submission. Sam leaned forward with interest. Can we contact them? I think so, Lisa replied. I've been working on a response using their communication protocols. If there are Kethmori who oppose the hegemony, they might be willing to help us. Rick's equipment suddenly came alive with urgent signals. Colonel, we have a problem. Hegemony. Forces are moving toward Haven Prime. It looks like they're planning to make an example of the colony. The screen showed massive alien ships approaching the agricultural world. Haven Prime was home to 50,000 human colonists who had spent years turning empty land into productive farms. Captain Julie Martinez commanded the small defense force there, but her ships were no match for hegemony technology. We need to warn them, Kelly said. They already know, Rick replied. Matt Stone sent a message saying they're prepared to fight. He's asking for any support we can provide. Sam looked around the room at his small team. They had been working for months to build a resistance, but they were not ready for a major battle. Still, they could not let Haven Prime face the hegemony alone. Send them everything we have on alien technology, Sam ordered. Kelly, pack up your research and get it to them immediately. Maybe they can use it to improve their defenses. While Kelly prepared her data for transmission, Lisa finally made contact with the Kethmori dissidents. The response came from a warrior poet named Thekarin, whose messages spoke of freedom and the right of all species to choose their own destiny. Thekarin explained that the hegemony ruled through fear and claimed their authority came from superior wisdom and technology. They had convinced most of the galaxy that resistance was impossible and submission was the natural order. But the Kethmori remembered when they fought for their independence even though they ultimately lost. The hegemony's greatest fear, Thekarin transmitted, is that someday a species will emerge that can unite the galaxy's oppressed peoples against them. They crush any sign of rebellion quickly to prevent other species from getting ideas about freedom. This gave Sam hope and a new strategy. Humanity alone could not defeat the hegemony, but they might not have to fight alone. If they could prove that resistance was possible, other species might join them. The key was coordination. Individual colonies fighting separate battles would be defeated one by one. But if multiple worlds resisted simultaneously while alien dissidents supported them, the hegemony would face something they had not seen in centuries. A real rebellion spanning multiple species across vast distances. We need to change our approach, Sam told his team. We're not just building a human resistance anymore. We're starting a galactic revolution. Kelly finished uploading her research to Haven Prime just as hegemony ships entered the system. The colonists would soon face their first real test against alien technology. If they could hold out long enough, other worlds might find the courage to join them. Rick expanded his communication network to reach beyond human space. Working with Lisa, he began transmitting messages to oppressed species throughout the galaxy. The messages were simple but powerful. Humanity refused to surrender their freedom, and they invited others to stand with them. The resistance had grown from a small group, hiding in lunar tunnels, to the beginning of something much larger. Soon, the galaxy would learn that some things were worth fighting for even against impossible odds. Admiral Vexcor led the hegemony fleet toward Haven Prime with complete confidence. His crystalline form pulsed with satisfaction as he reviewed the battle plan. The agricultural colony would serve as the perfect example to other human settlements. A quick demonstration of hegemony power would end any thoughts of resistance and force immediate compliance with the ultimatum. The Admiral commanded 47 warships, each one capable of destroying entire cities from orbit. Intelligence reports suggested Haven Prime had only basic defenses and a small militia. The colonists were farmers, not soldiers. This would be over quickly. Captain Julie Martinez stood in the command center of Haven Prime's main settlement, watching the approaching fleet on her tactical display. She had been a military pilot before joining the colony, but she had never faced anything like this. Her defense force consisted of 12 converted cargo ships and 40 atmospheric fighters designed for patrol duty, not space combat. Matt Stone entered the command center carrying a steaming cup of coffee, the colony leader, looked tired but determined. Over the past months, he had transformed his peaceful farming community into something resembling a fortress. Every colonist had a role to play in the defense plan. The evacuation tunnels are ready, Matt reported. All non-essential personnel are already underground. Food and water supplies are distributed throughout the tunnel network. We can hold out down there for months if necessary. Julie nodded while studying the tactical data Kelly Brooks had transmitted from the lunar resistance base. The alien technology was incredibly advanced, but it had patterns and weaknesses. Human ingenuity might find ways to exploit those weaknesses. Remember the plan, Julie told her pilots over the communication system. We don't try to match their firepower. We use speed and unpredictability. Hit-and-run attacks. Make them chase us through the asteroid field where our smaller ships have advantages. The orbital defense platforms had been completely rebuilt using Kelly's research. Originally designed for weather control, they now served as weapon systems powered by modified alien energy cells. The weapons were crude compared to hegemony technology, but they might be enough to surprise the enemy. Admiral Vexcor opened communications with the colony as his fleet entered the system. His image appeared on screens throughout Haven Prime, showing his tall crystalline form radiating cold authority. Humans of Haven Prime, your time has expired. Surrender immediately and prepare for relocation to your home system. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your settlement. Matt Stone's face appeared on the Admiral's command screen. The human looked impossibly small and fragile compared to the Vexthari, but his voice was steady and strong. Admiral Vexcor, we reject your ultimatum. Haven Prime is our home and we will defend it. If you want this world, you'll have to take it from us. The Admiral's form flashed with anger. No inferior species had ever dared speak to the hegemony with such disrespect. He would crush these upstart humans and broadcast their destruction throughout the galaxy as a warning to others. Begin the attack, Vexcor. Ordered. The hegemony fleet moved into standard formation, expecting the human ships to flee or surrender immediately. Instead, Julie's fighters swarmed out from hidden positions among the asteroids. They moved in unpredictable patterns, using the rocky debris as cover while firing salvos of modified missiles. The alien ships returned fire with devastating energy beams, but the human fighters were already gone. They struck quickly, then vanished back into the asteroid field before the hegemony could target them effectively. Several alien vessels suffered minor damage while the humans lost only 2 fighters. Admiral Vexcor was confused and annoyed. His ships were vastly superior, but the humans were fighting like insects. They refused to engage in proper battle formation, instead darting around like angry wasps, stinging wherever they could reach. The real surprise came when the orbital platforms opened fire. Beams of crystalline energy lanced out from positions the hegemony had dismissed as civilian infrastructure. 3 alien ships took serious damage before they realized the agricultural equipment had been weaponized. Julie's converted cargo ships joined the battle using their large cargo holds to launch clouds of metal debris into space. When hegemony ships flew through these debris fields, their shields overloaded, trying to block thousands of small impacts. The mighty alien warships found themselves blinded and confused by simple scrap metal, the battle that should have ended in minutes stretched on for hours. Human defenders used every trick they could imagine. They hid inside the planet's magnetic field where alien sensors had trouble tracking them. They used communication jamming to disrupt hegemony coordination. They even released clouds of genetically modified crop spores that damaged alien ship hulls, but the humans' greatest weapon was not technology. Dr. Ben Hughes, working from Earth, had activated humanity's deep space communication network to broadcast the battle across the galaxy in real time. Oppressed species throughout known space watched as humans fought against impossible odds and refused to surrender. The battle reached its climax when Thakarin arrived with a small force of Kefmori rebels. Their ships were old and battered, but they carried weapons that could hurt hegemony vessels. For the first time in centuries, 2 subjugated species were fighting together against their oppressors. Admiral Vexcor realized his quick victory had become a disaster. He had lost 15 ships, and the humans were still fighting. Worse, the battle was being broadcast throughout the galaxy, showing the mighty hegemony struggling against primitive rebels. Other species were watching, and some might get dangerous ideas about resistance. The Admiral made a fatal decision. Unable to accept defeat from inferior beings, he ordered orbital bombardment of Haven Prime's surface. Massive energy beams lanced down from space, turning cities to ash and melting the ground into glass. Thousands of human colonists died in the bombardment, but the survivors retreated deeper into their underground cities where the bombardment could not reach them. The tunnel networks that had started as simple evacuation routes became an entire civilization beneath the planet's surface. The humans emerged from their shelters bloodied but unbroken. Ready to continue fighting, Vexcor retreated with the remainder of his fleet, having accomplished nothing except proving that the hegemony could be resisted. The humans had lost their surface cities, but they had won something more valuable. They had shown the galaxy that freedom was worth fighting for, even against overwhelming odds across known space. The broadcast of Haven Prime's battle ignited something. The hegemony thought they had destroyed centuries ago. Hope began to spread among oppressed peoples as they realized the mighty hegemony was not invincible after all. News of Haven Prime's defiance spread across the galaxy faster than the hegemony could stop it. On the oceanic worlds of the Murdi, aquatic beings gathered in their underwater cities to discuss what they had witnessed. For 300 years they had served the hegemony as biological experts, creating weapons and medicines for their masters. Now they began to remember what freedom felt like. Dr. Lisa Carter stood on the bridge of the stealth ship Freedom's Call, watching the stars stream past through the main window. Captain Alex Reed had designed the ship specifically for diplomatic missions, using advanced cloaking technology that made them nearly invisible to hegemony sensors. Their mission was to contact rebel groups across known space and forge a formal alliance. President Amanda Foster had finally committed Earth's full resources to the resistance after seeing the orbital bombardment of Haven Prime. The images of human cities burning had convinced her that negotiation was impossible. The hegemony understood only force, and humanity would give them more force than they expected. "We're approaching the Murdi system," Alex announced from the pilot's seat. "Their planet looks beautiful from here. All blue oceans with floating cities connected by bridges." Lisa reviewed her briefings on Murdi culture. They were peaceful beings who valued knowledge and harmony above conquest. The hegemony had enslaved them not through military defeat but by threatening to poison their oceans. Now those same oceans might hide the laboratories where rebel Murdi developed weapons against their oppressors. The first meeting took place in an underwater facility, so deep that sunlight could not penetrate the darkness above. Murdi scientists, led by Dr. Kellanara, showed Lisa their secret research. They had been developing biological agents that could target hegemony species while leaving others unharmed. "We have waited centuries for someone to give us hope," Dr. Kellanara communicated through translation devices. "Your species fights with courage we had forgotten was possible. If you can truly unite the oppressed peoples, we will share everything we know." Meanwhile, General Roy Patterson worked with Colonel Sam Wright to reveal Project Liberation. Hidden construction facilities throughout human space had been building new warships designed specifically to fight the hegemony. The ships were smaller and faster than traditional human vessels but carried hybrid technology combining human engineering with alien science. The first Liberation-class ships rolled out of secret shipyards 3 weeks after the battle at Haven Prime. Captain Julie Martinez took command of the prototype vessel called Freedom's Edge. The ship looked sleek and deadly with angular armor plating and weapon systems that could fire both human missiles and alien energy beams. "It's beautiful," Julie said as she toured the ship's bridge. "How many do we have?" 50 completed with 200 more under construction, General Patterson replied. "Each one is worth 10 of our old ships in combat effectiveness. We're finally building weapons that can hurt the hegemony." The real breakthrough came when Thekarin contacted the Resistance with intelligence from inside hegemony space. The Kethmori warrior poet had discovered the location of a prison world where political dissidents from dozens of species were held. A successful rescue mission could free thousands of potential allies. Colonel Wright planned the assault carefully. The prison world called Torment was heavily defended, but it was also isolated from main hegemony fleet positions. A fast strike using the new liberation ships might succeed if they moved quickly enough. Julie led 12 ships through hyperspace toward the prison world. Her crew included both humans and Kethmori rebels working together as equals. The mixed crews had trained for weeks, learning to coordinate their different fighting styles and technologies. The prison world appeared on their screens as a brown ball of rock surrounded by orbital defense platforms. Massive energy barriers protected the planet's surface, where hundreds of thousands of prisoners worked in forced labor camps. The defenders expected no trouble from this remote location. Julie's ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation and immediately began their attack. The liberation vessels moved faster than anything the prison guards had seen before. Their hybrid weapons tore through defensive shields while their advanced armor deflected return fire. The battle lasted only 30 minutes. Human fighters swarmed over the orbital platforms while Kethmori boarding parties captured the control centers. The energy barriers around the planet flickered and died, leaving the surface installations defenseless. Ground forces led by Matt Stone landed on the prison world's surface. The colony leader had volunteered for the mission after Haven Prime's underground cities were secure. His teams moved through the prison camps, freeing beings from dozens of different species. Among the freed prisoners was Zenka, a former hegemony admiral from the energy-based Luxari species. She had been imprisoned for questioning orders to destroy civilian populations during the hegemony's expansion centuries ago. Her knowledge of fleet movements and tactical doctrine would prove invaluable to the resistance. "I never thought I would see this day," Zenka said as she watched mixed crews of humans, Kethmori, and other species working together. "The hegemony taught us that cooperation between species was impossible. They said only their rigid hierarchy could maintain order." The rescue mission became a massive recruitment drive. Freed prisoners joined the growing rebellion, bringing their own knowledge and skills. Scientists, engineers, warriors, and diplomats from across the galaxy united under a simple principle that humanity had proposed. All species deserved the right to choose their own destiny. Dr. Lisa Carter worked with representatives from newly liberated species to establish the Alliance of Free Peoples. Unlike the hegemony's rigid hierarchy, the Alliance operated as a confederation of equals. Each species contributed their unique strengths while maintaining their independence and cultural identity. The Kethmori provided warriors and tactical knowledge from their long history of resistance. The Murdai offered biological and medical expertise along with their advanced understanding of genetics. The insectoid hive mesh contributed their ability to coordinate vast numbers instantly through their genetic link. President Foster addressed the Alliance's first council meeting from Earth. Representatives from 23 species gathered in a secure location to hear humanity's proposal for galactic governance, based on freedom and cooperation rather than conquest and submission. "We do not seek to replace hegemony tyranny with human dominance," Foster said. "We offer partnership between equals working together to build a galaxy where every being can live free. No species should rule over others, and no world should be forced into submission." The hegemony responded to these developments with threats and ultimatums. They declared that any species joining the Alliance would face immediate destruction. Their fleets began moving toward rebel territories, preparing for total war, but it was too late to stop what humanity had started. The Alliance grew stronger every day as more species chose freedom over fear. Hidden bases throughout the galaxy built ships and weapons, while communication networks spread the message of hope to every corner of known space. The galaxy was dividing into two camps. On one side stood the hegemony with their overwhelming technology and rigid control. On the other side stood the Alliance, united by shared principles and the determination to live free or die fighting. 2 years had passed since the hegemony delivered their ultimatum to humanity. The galaxy burned with civil war as the Alliance of Free Peoples fought against their former oppressors. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, Unity, watching hundreds of ships from dozens of species prepare for the next phase of their campaign. The war had changed everything. What started as scattered human resistance had become a coordinated rebellion spanning thousands of light years. Every week brought news of new species joining the Alliance and new victories against hegemony forces. The tide was finally turning. In favor of freedom, Dr. Ben Hughes worked in his laboratory on Earth surrounded by freed Luxari scientists. The energy beings had brought knowledge that revolutionized human understanding of physics and technology. Together they had discovered something that could change the war completely. The quantum entanglement network is the key to everything, Ben explained to President Foster during their weekly briefing. The hegemony uses instantaneous communication to coordinate their fleets across vast distances. But the same technology that makes them so efficient also makes them vulnerable. The quantum communication system worked by linking particles across space, allowing immediate information transfer. The hegemony had built this network over centuries, creating a web that connected every major fleet and installation. It was their greatest technological achievement and their greatest weakness. If we can introduce viruses into their communication hubs, we can create cascading system failures, Ben continued. The quantum entanglement that gives them perfect coordination can be reversed to spread chaos throughout their entire network. Kelly Brooks had spent months perfecting the quantum viruses in her laboratory. The tiny programs would look like normal communication data. The final battle for galactic freedom took place at Nexus Prime, the massive space station that served as the hegemony's capital and ultimate stronghold. Admiral Jake Morrison led the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, supported by ships from 43 different species united under the Alliance banner. The space station was enormous, stretching across hundreds of kilometers and bristling with defensive weapons that could destroy entire fleets. It orbited a gas giant in the center of hegemony space, protected by 3 rings of automated defense platforms and the remnants of their most powerful warships. "It looks impossible," Captain Alex Reed said as he studied the tactical display. "Even with everything we've learned, I don't see how we can break through those defenses." Admiral Morrison nodded grimly. The quantum virus attack had crippled hegemony coordination, but they still possessed overwhelming firepower. Nexus Prime represented everything they had left, concentrated in one final desperate stand. If the Alliance failed here, the war might continue for decades. Dr. Lisa Carter worked frantically in her laboratory, analyzing new intelligence from Kethmori infiltrators inside the station. The information revealed something unexpected. Not all hegemony leaders supported continuing the fight. Ambassador Zektar had been secretly building a faction that wanted to negotiate surrender. "The Vextari are divided," Lisa reported to the Alliance command staff. "Zektar represents the moderates who realize they cannot win. But the hardliners led by Admiral Vexcor refused to consider anything except total victory or total destruction." President Foster studied the intelligence reports with growing concern. A divided enemy was often more dangerous than a united one. The hegemony hardliners might choose to destroy Nexus Prime rather than allow it to fall into Alliance hands. Millions of beings lived on that station, including many who opposed the war. The battle began with Admiral Morrison's fleet emerging from hyperspace in perfect formation. Alliance ships moved with coordination that would have been impossible without the diversity of species working together. Human tactical flexibility combined with Kethmori warrior courage, Murdi biological weapons, and hive mesh. Perfect synchronization. The first assault wave targeted the outer defense ring using the lessons learned from 2 years of bitter fighting. Instead of direct frontal attacks, the Alliance used swarm tactics with thousands of small fighters overwhelming individual defensive positions while larger ships provided support. Captain Julie Martinez led a squadron of Liberation-class ships through the chaos of battle. Her vessel Freedom's Edge had been upgraded with technology from every Alliance species, creating a hybrid warship more advanced than anything either side had built before. The ship moved like a living thing, dodging defensive fire while striking. Back with devastating precision, the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. As the battle raged around Nexus Prime, massive energy signatures appeared at the edge of the system. The Vethkari had arrived. These energy beings had remained neutral throughout the war, observing events with detached interest. Now they chose to intervene. The Vethkari spokesman materialized as a shimmering form of pure light on every ship's communication screen. We have watched this conflict with great interest. The species called humanity has demonstrated something remarkable. They have shown that unity in freedom creates strength greater than unity in oppression. The energy beings had technology that surpassed even hegemony science. Their intervention tipped the balance decisively in favor of the Alliance. Defensive platforms shut down as Vethkari energy disrupted their power systems. Hegemony ships found their weapons unable to lock onto Alliance targets. Admiral Vexkor realized his position was hopeless. The quantum communication network remained crippled. His allies were abandoning him, and now the most advanced species in the galaxy supported his enemies. Still, he refused to surrender, choosing instead to activate Nexus Prime's self-destruct sequence. Ambassador Zektar acted quickly to prevent total disaster. His moderate faction seized control of critical systems and disabled the self-destruct mechanism. Then he opened communication channels to President Foster, offering immediate surrender in exchange for amnesty for hegemony civilians. President Foster, we have lost. Zektar's crystalline form appeared on the Alliance flagship's main screen. Admiral Vexkor no longer speaks for our people. I offer unconditional surrender and request mercy for those who were forced to follow orders they did not support. Foster's response was broadcast throughout the galaxy. We accept your surrender, Ambassador. The Alliance seeks justice, not revenge. Those who committed crimes will face trial, but civilians and soldiers who fought honorably will be treated with respect. The formal surrender ceremony took place in Nexus Prime's Great Hall with representatives from every Alliance species present. Admiral Morrison accepted the hegemony's capitulation while Vekarin and other rebel leaders watched their former oppressors lay down their weapons, but the real victory celebration happened 5 years later. Dr. Lisa Carter now served as the Alliance's Chief Scientific Coordinator, overseeing the establishment of the Galactic Confederation's new capital on a world called Harmony. The planet had been chosen specifically because no single species had prior claim to it. The Great Assembly Hall buzzed with conversation in dozens of languages, as representatives from over 100 species gathered for the Confederation's inaugural session. Former enemies worked side by side as equals. Even some hegemony species had joined after democratic revolutions replaced their old governments. President Foster took the podium as the Confederation's first Secretary General. Her hair was gray now, and her face showed the strain of years of war and diplomacy. But her voice remained strong as she addressed the assembled delegates. We gather here not as conquerors or conquered, but as equals united by shared principles, she began. Humanity's journey from a single world to this moment has taught us that diversity creates strength. We are stronger together than any of us could be alone. Admiral Reed now commanded the Confederation Defense Force, ensuring that no single species would ever again dominate others through force. The fleet included ships from every member species working together to protect the freedom they had all fought to achieve. The final scene took place on Earth, where children from dozens of species attended integrated schools and learned together about the history they were making. Orbital stations hosted ships from across the galaxy as former enemies became friends and partners. Captain Alex Reed stood on the observation deck of one orbital station, watching ships arrive from distant worlds. His daughter played nearby with friends whose species had once been enemies. The sight filled him with hope for the future they were building together. The communication array activated, broadcasting a new message to unexplored regions of the galaxy. This time it was not an ultimatum but an invitation spoken in President Foster's voice. To any civilization receiving this message, you are not alone. You are welcome to join us as equals among the stars. Together we can build a galaxy where every being lives free. The message carried the promise that humanity had fought to fulfill. Freedom was not just for humans or any single species. It belonged to everyone who had the courage to claim it and the wisdom to share it with others. The galaxy had learned that unity and freedom was stronger than any force that tried to divide and conquer. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. Instead, they had helped the galaxy conquer tyranny itself.